It's 11:44 a.m. on June 22nd. 2K24, the year of our Lord. Good morning to you, because I've decided to do This Much Is True early this morning. Usually I do it at night, after a jam-packed day, or a day where I feel guilty that I've done nothing. But that's the subject today. I think there is a time and a place for doing nothing. Should we have a nice little bit of peaceful music? This is Ralph Vaughan Williams, Symphony Number 3, Pastoral. Particularly peaceful. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll set the scene for us. I first discovered this piece of music, believe it or not, by listening to an old Desert Island Discs featuring Noel Edmonds, he of Mr. Blobby, when he was a young DJ in 1978. And he expressed how it reminded him that he lived in England, and that England is a beautiful country, and has beautiful rural scenery and history. And I have to say, Noel, for all your travail since, it's been a bloody good decision. I love that piece of music. And so will you. Hello to the usual crew. Need I even name you at this point, old friends? Tara, Sue, and Jerry too. Not forgetting Nigel. Nigel sent me that mysterious video from his farm property, and I will be showing it in the next day or two. I kind of got to the bottom of it as well, Nigel. The cat. You know what I'm talking about. If I've left anyone out, don't be offended. It's early in the morning. You know, I've had one of these marathon sleeps because I think I've slept for the guts of 12 hours. So, it's a beautiful day today in the neighborhood. I hope the sun is shining where you are. But even if it isn't, maybe derive some benefit from where you are, your surroundings. And even if they're not pleasant, perhaps you can find a cozy corner of a room. For today, fellow humanoids, I'd like you to think about you. It's all about you today, because you are being bombarded day in, day out by all kinds of stimulus. And let's face it, most of it these days is negative. And if you thought about it, it would drive you nuts. And if you think about it further, it is designed to drive you nuts. Therefore, I suggest today you and I take a spiritual hand in hand and have a respectable retreat. I don't know if you can see it, but that's my green chair over there. Green chair and me are well acquainted, because every so often I get to think in my green chair over there. See what I did there? I have my green chair. Anyway, you get the point. It's good as well if you can... Now, I have a fetish for notebooks, but if you can just, get even a to-do list. And first thing I'd say is, when you sit there and you've decided this is your time, switch off the mobile if you can. Please, put it away, other side of the room. Do this when you know you're not really going to get disturbed. Could be late at night, could be early in the morning. 'Tis up to you. First thing, though, is, I think, wean yourself off whatever's really bugging you, especially the things that you can't do anything about whatsoever. You know, the niggly things even. Somebody might have offended you, they might have said something to you and it irks you, and you're, how are you gonna, I'll get you, you know. whatever it is, but you know, the people get offended sometimes, especially these days, when really it's just someone's opinion. It could be motivated by nastiness. Sometimes they might just get you when you're vulnerable and they say something to them that's innocent, but to you it's like, it's a huge insult. And if you want to do this little exercise, and very quickly I'll explain to you what it is. Is my music too loud for you? Okay. Yes. Bring it down a tad. Yeah. So let's just say whatever's going on in the world, politics-wise, especially over in the UK now, you're about to have an election. We've had these kind of little crackers, local elections, as you did. But, you know, it used to be the case where live and let live in terms of what policies or party you followed. Nowadays, it's my way, or I nearly want to hang the opposition. That's how it's gotten. As I said, you think about it, by design. Two cheeks of the same arse. Doesn't really matter who gets in. And here's the exercise. If you could, I don't think you'll manage a day, but if you could manage a few hours of everything that comes at you and everybody that says something to you which you don't agree with in the political sphere, you take their side. I might have touched upon this some months ago, thanks to Ray, out of Ray's Rants. I put a link down below. Check him out. But yeah, I tried doing this a few months ago and I was amazed. And what it is you agree with the person that's irritating you the most. In fact, you mentally, what's the word I'm looking for? Defect over to the other side. Just for 24 hours, you start, as the Beatles would say, try and see it your way. Try and see it my way. Try and see it their way. And pretend not only are you seeing it their way, but you are an ardent fanatic and follower to the letter of the law of everything Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak says. And you will defend their policies to the hilt, to life itself. And I know it's abhorrent for you to think some of these things, but try it. Try it. And here's why. Pretty soon, in fact very quickly, you'll start finding yourself in the other's camp. It's not going to last, but you will. It'll be temporarily, it'll fill you. And then it dawns on you. It's just a belief system. Everybody believes what they want to believe, or believe even. And it's crazy how quickly you can transfer over. And you realize it's kind of mug's game. And what does your opinion matter at the end of the day? Now, it could be a bit woo-woo for some of you who say, well, nothing's going to change unless people like me make a stand and da-da. But what will change if you try that exercise is you just realize how fickle people are. Even sometimes how cowardly people are. And we saw that during the whole pandemic thing, which has affected so many people. In fact, I think it's affected the majority of people because it's not necessarily a Maslow's theory of needs. But one thing we all need in life is a bit of certainty, and suddenly the goddamn certainty was pulled out from under us deliberately. I don't care what people think, conspiracy theorists. That was a deliberate act. But that's my opinion. Try seeing it my way for 24 hours, and you might see what I'm talking about. But that certainty was gone. And as a result, an awful lot of us have been traumatized by the whole thing, because when will they pull the certainty away again? So I think a lot of us have entered a kind of netherworld. It is, again, it's a matter of trust as well. You know, the relationships, the trust is gone. Will it ever come back? Very rarely. And I think in some respects, that might be the most stupid, forgive my language, fucking thing that the powers that be ever pulled. Most people are wise to it. And still you will be surprised at how many people will go along to get along. But as I was saying, just how fickle people were. There were people that would happily put other people on trains and send them to God knows where, because they didn't want to be part of the gang.
This week, right? Yeah, great.
So we pull that ad out of the way, which is coming up. We might get back to some nice music. But do you hear what I'm saying? Just how fickle and how hard it was, believe me. It was a gargantuan task to stand up against some of that stuff when you felt like a second-class citizen in your own country. I, for one, am glad I did not follow the herd. I have witnessed something myself that only happened coming out of the last 2 years, and it appalled me. And I know, I feel in my guts it was a direct result of a certain intervention. And I think of this person who I knew, and the vibrancy of this person, and the children left behind. Today is about you. It's about the chair. It's about a blank sheet. It's about feeling good about you. It's about forgiving you. It's about loving you and loving those around you that are the closest. You know, the ones that are in the trenches with you, not the here today, gone to mother. Well, they probably have gone to mother in some cases, gone tomorrow. And it's time out to get your head right. It's only life. It'll be over before you know it, as I heard recently. You're born, you live, you love, you die. Time for you and I. Sit over in your chair or in your corner. If it helps bring you down, unlike the advice of the ELO, don't bring me down, you bring you right down. You need some time out. Even if you think I'm talking rubbish, I'm telling you now, you need some time out. Even if it's only to get away from me, you need some time out. Bring it down. Bring it down. You're going to need time out. And you're going to need it regularly. Quality recovery time. Best athletes in the world do it, you know. Not only do they warm up, they warm down. Let's see the world for what it is. And you for what you are. If it's helped set the mood, where did you go when you were a little boy or a little girl? What made you feel comfortable? Was it your mother's fingers on your brow when you were fevered? Was it, I don't know, a new blanket? What gave you rest and solace? Was it an Enid Blyton book? Teddy bear? Box of soldiers? Did you have a cat or a dog? One of my earliest memories is lying on the ground in front of an open fire with a big dog. Subsequently I found out he was called Major, and I played with Major's ear. And one day, I suspect because we were having to go overseas because Dad had been in the army, 2 men came along. And my mother made Major get up, and I watched as Major was put into a car. And I think I was about 4 when this was happening. And as the men put him in the car, I noticed, hey, hang on, they've put him where the engine should be. That's weird. Normally, there's the boot, or as my American cousins would say, the trunk of a car. Why are they? Because years later, I figured out it was a Volkswagen Beetle. They were putting him in. And it was all amicable. The men had bought the dog or said they'd look after it while we went overseas. That's an early memory. Me lying with this big dog, playing with its ear. And you know, I have this kind of habit. I do this with my hair. And even at the age of, I'm 61 next week, I still find myself, it's like I prick the inside of my finger with the tip of my hair. Each to their own, but I think it's a comfort thing, probably stemming from that time. We're going to back up the truck here and we're going to talk. Chair, you. Love you. Forgive you. If you want to do a life audit of what you think you have done wrong, where you have transgressed, nobody's going to know but you and that chair. But what I want you to do is make sure you have a good scratch first of all. What I want you to do is you see those things, those transgressions. And remember, we're different people at different phases of our lives. We may not necessarily do or even entertain the kind of things we did years ago. You are only human. But I want you to have that list of, if you have this audit of what went wrong, and forgive yourself if it's been bothering you for years. It's like a bucket of ashes. It's done. What do you do with ashes? Throw them out. If you want, write everything down, all the pain. Write it. Put it in an envelope, but you make sure you burn that envelope in front of you and you burn the bloody past with it. We're going to have a clear mind for what we're trying to do, which is to take time out to be and to appreciate and to give, if we can give. Believe it or not, one day, I never did it before or since. It was a Saturday. And I got into my car and I visited people I knew, the handful. Some were siblings, some were friends. I don't know what possessed me. It was a day like today. I said to my wife, I'm going out to see people today. Now, I'm not a fan of arriving without notice. I have done it myself, but I did. I arrived without notice. I went to see my friend Steve, my brother Jerry, my late brother Jerry, and his wife, and my brother Niall and his wife at the time, and who else? Whoever. I remember getting in that car, and maybe I wasn't welcome, but I felt welcomed when I did arrive. I don't know what that was, but it was good, and I need to do more of it. We need to listen to people more as well. It's hard for someone like me who's full of shit, who just goes... As I said to someone recently at a wedding, it's okay, mate. I said, if you chopped my head off and kicked it down the railway, it would still be talking. Like, do you remember the punk in The Young Ones? Remember when the head got chopped off? I don't mean to go on. But I do know there's a hell of a lot more to life than all the stuff that's fired at us by TikToks and Facebooks and Instagrams and mainstream media and podcasts and God knows what next, deep fakes. All these things are like putty in the hand of whatever creates us. And we were created by thought. Something, somebody, somewhere, depending on what you thought us up. And they gave us the power to think. So their job was done. They created through thought, and they said, you go think. And then if you think that...
As an athlete.
Then as you think as an athlete, so shall you be as an athlete. These ads come up again. Please, shut the fuck up. We're trying to have a conversation here. And of course, I'm looking at this ad, and it's... sorry to digress, but you know the way they try and foist certain imagery, certain, weird stuff on you. This is what the world's coming to. Think like this, be like that, be open to this, be open to that. What's next? Right, I think we're out of Dodge now. We can play the music again. Are we in the chair? Have we got the list beside us? Have we forgiven ourselves? And have we realized that stuff went on before us and stuff is going to go on after us? And that we've got the power now to just be and be happy being, and to give of ourselves. Try and help people at times as well. I have to say, he's the best friend in the world. I have two best friends in the world. One is my wife. I love my wife. I cannot tell you how much I love her. And like every other marriage, it's not always sunshine and angel piss. Of course it's not. And that's what marriages are. You know, sometimes you're going, holy fuck. Other times you're going, hallelujah. 28 years, 29 years together. She's supported me through thick and thin. She supported me when I had wads of money and when I had an empty wallet. She supported me. Now things are good, but they might get stormy again, as with life. I love my wife. She could do no wrong in my eyes. We have words, but we always end up together on the same level. And I think a lot of marriages work because if you have a good marriage, you generally have certain, you hold the same almost moral views, whatever. At the end of the day, you are on the same page. You might go off in different directions, but if there are certain transgressions, certain rights and wrongs that you hold dear to and you share those with your partner, then I think it makes for a good thing. And my best friend in the world, Stephen knows me. That's all I can say. He's always there. Always. And I can be a little bollocks to Steve at times, and I don't mean to be. It's just I get depressed from time to time, and I don't really feel like getting it on and pouring it on about the old days. We know each other probably 50 years. And I can tell you, 20 years or so I was depressed. I was in a turmoil. I'm heavy now, but God, I put on a lot of weight. I used to take to the bed. And not even sleep. Just get into sweaty, catatonic-y, panicky, fitful state. And that phone would ring, and I'd see the caller ID. And it was him. And I wouldn't answer. Shame on me. Sometimes I still don't answer. I'm just not in the mood to talk. I'm private. And yet I'm public. I'm weird. But I knew he was there. I'm sorry to be tacky again, but in the words of George Michael and Aretha Franklin, I knew he was waiting for me. And it still goes on. But I think maybe sometimes he might be able to say some good things about me. There must be, or he wouldn't be hanging around. After 50 years, we have weird things in common. We both lost brothers way too young, called Jerry. We were each other's best man. We each have a daughter who's left-handed. Really weird stuff. You know, that's just brother from another mother. I think I'm going on too long now. Maybe I should have just said this at the start. Give yourself some time out. Forgive yourself. Try, it may be hard, to forgive others. And even if you can't, fuck them. Just put them out of your mind. Right? We all have people like that. But regroup. Regroup your force, and decide, you know what? Today is going to be good, better. Tomorrow's going to be better. The next day is going to be better than that. And if I wander off track a bit, I'm going to get back. I told you guys, I'm not going to show it to you now, that I've recently taken to my diary, but I splash it with colour every day. And that was like a new era for me. I have only stopped when I was on holidays. So I went back to my book yesterday, splashed with colours of sunshine and the ocean and stuff, and then I write my to-do list in the middle of it. But it's like, because I've started down this bright track, I don't want to go into the dark place again. And you might say, well, the world, yeah, well, the world was there before you and it'll go on without you. If we get wiped out in the morning, so be it. Years ago, and I will leave you on this, I saw a documentary, and it was around the time of the AIDS epidemic, and that was an epidemic, 1988 or so. Remember that? Don't die of ignorance. That time. And heroin was like 10 a penny in Dublin City. And there was this guy, and he had the gaunt, sallow, awful complexion of a drug addict. And I would play this music in future without stupid ads to interrupt our train of thought, yeah? Anyway. And he was being interviewed because people were swapping needles and stuff. And he was asked about AIDS and whether he was terrified about it or not. And he said, I'll tell you, I'll worry about it when it happens. And you know, that's not such a bad strategy. I'll worry about it when it happens. When the powers that be, or whatever's at play, pulls the rug out from under us again, will you worry about it? Yeah, worry about it then. In the meanwhile, you have two options. One, you can start enjoying life and be grateful for what you have and give of what you can give and love of who you can love. If you don't have anyone in your life, that's fine. You know it is. It's not great, but it's fine. Get a cat, give it a cuddle, buy a dog. Use someone else's dog if you don't want to clean up after them. Get out, go for a walk. Make a homemade apple pie. Do some gardening. Clean something. Clean yourself. Have a shave. Put on a nice clean t-shirt. New knickers. Whatever. If you have someone that's in your life and they're fuckable, go do the business. Get with it. Get happy. Okay, you can do that. Or you can get proactive and go out and start fighting and manning the barricades for what you believe in. It may end up right for you. It may end up appalling for you. I don't know. I know which one I'm taking at this stage of my life. So worry about it when it happens. Give yourself a break. Give yourself time out. Everybody Wang Chung tonight.